What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another market update, this time for mainly vintage Kenner Star Wars mint on card items. We do have some mint in sealed box stuff. We've got some graded vehicles and mini rigs, and it's kind of all over the map with this video. A few carrying cases also sold. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that this video is going to be kind of a weird mishmash of different items, but I hope you enjoy looking at it. But lots of items I've just had on my watch list for a little while, and I wanted to kind of put it all together for an interesting video. So let's take a look at some prices. The first one is a Stormtrooper 12-back, and this one looked to be in pretty great condition. You can see the blister there on that one. It looks like the proof of purchase is cut out on this one, but I wanted to show it because even with the pop cut out, this 12-back this 12-back Stormtrooper sold for $510. So even when you have a 12-back with the pop cut out, it still sells for big money, and it just shows you that 12-backs continue to command big money on the secondary market, even when they're not perfect like this one. So I was as shocked as you are by that price. It's a great display piece, don't get me wrong. I think that this one would look really good in like a sliding acrylic case or something like that, but obviously not a gradable item given that the pop is cut out on that one. But $510 seems like a lot of money for that, but it is a 12-back Stormtrooper with a clear blister that is overall in great shape. It's a shame that the pop was cut out on that one. Next up is a 20-back. It says 21-back in the auction title, but it's a 20-back Greedo with the Boba Fett offer on it, and there is the back of the card. A little bit of scuffs here and there. The bottom of the card was most noticeable with the damage there. Lots of scuffing on the back, unfortunately, but pretty great looking example from the front anyway. It did have some sticker residue or some kind of mark there on the Star Wars logo. The blister had one little ding as well, but crystal clear, fully sealed, looked really nice. Probably a 75 grade would be my guess on this one. It sold for $516, which I thought was a pretty good buy. Just given that, you know, with 20 backs, they tend to be pretty popular, clear blister in pretty good shape. But this one did have a bubble ding, and it did have some scuffing on the back there. You can see very clearly on the back. Probably like a 70, 75, 85, something like that would be my guess for the grades. But pretty nice looking example for $516. Next up was a Luke Skywalker X-Wing. This one was an AFA 75, 21-back B, card 70, blister 80, figure 80. So for an overall 75, but pretty nice looking example there. And that one sold for $710. That seems to be about right if you ask me. I think the 70 card score probably held this one down. You had 280 sub-scores, but the card score of a 70 probably held this one back a little bit. And $710 was the final sales price on that. You can see the obvious creases at the top of the card there, and some scratches on either the AFA case or something like that. But anyway, pretty nice looking example for a Luke X-Wing. It did have a blister ding in the upper right-hand corner, as you can see there. Still got the 80 score for the blister, though. But $710 took that home plus $25 shipping. This was a beautiful example of the Palitoy R5D4. Now, it did have some pretty major creasing going on. So not a high grade, probably not really one you'd want to grade, but this one would certainly display nicely in a sliding acrylic case like this one is. But this is the tougher to find Palitoy, and look how beautiful the back of that card is with the Palitoy Death Star playset, and there's the bottom of the card there. It's got that beautiful Palitoy logo on the front of the card. Blister looked to be in pretty great shape overall. It just had that really bad crease going all the way down the card, as you can see there. And that one sold for 361 pounds, $455. Again, another very nice display piece, just like that 12-back Stormtrooper. Not really one you need to grade, but I think that this one would look awfully nice on your shelf. And that's just a beautiful example there. Look how clean that looks from the front. I think that would be a really nice addition to anybody's collection. So $455, I think that's a pretty good buy for an early Palitoy card back. Next up was the 3-position laser rifle. This one had the Star Wars packaging. As a couple of you mentioned in the comments, there was an Empire Strikes Back version with a Hoth Stormtrooper, but this one is the Luke version. And this one, I don't believe, was a mint and sealed box. This one was probably just put back together to kind of make it look like it was, you know, still in the box. But really, this is, you're buying the box that's been opened along with the actual laser rifle itself, but still a very tough to find item, even in this condition, and it sold for $501. Again, I think that price is very fair, just given that AFA examples can set you back quite a bit of money. So nice looking 3-position laser rifle there. I got three different figure cases that sold. This one was still vacuum sealed. This is the Darth Vader's collector's case with the $1 rebate offer on this packaging, and more on that in a little while, but you can see that. Now on the back on this one, someone had unfortunately punched through the cellophane wrappers when they picked it up. So, it's still mint and sealed box, but the wrapper is open on that top there from where you hold it. And I had one of these growing up. Very cool item to see still in the vacuum seal shrink wrap. That one sold for $480. And then this one, I think I showed in my what to buy video, this one did not have a shrink wrap on it, but this one included 3 different baggies, the Yoda, Darth Vader, and the Luke Bespin. And you can see that they opened it there to show all 3 baggies still inside, still factory sealed baggies. And that's really what you're buying here, because there are so many fake Yoda baggies out there. It's really tough to find one that's legitimate. And this one, more than likely, it's a legit example, right? Given that all 3 are the correct baggies that came with this carrying case. So this is just another variation of the carrying case that was out there, and that included 3 different baggies. That one sold for $690. So even though this one with the $1 rebate offer was still somewhat factory sealed, this one, because it did include those 3 baggies, sold for more money, $690 plus another $50 shipping, so almost $750 on that item. And then here is the C3PO case. This one's still factory sealed with the cellophane wrapper. There's obviously quite a bit of wear to the cardboard insert or exterior kind of cardboard piece there. So by no means mint, but it still sold for $160. Pretty good value on that one, given that AFA examples will set you back $800 to $900 is some of the recent sales prices I've seen, either on Hakes or elsewhere. I can't remember where. I think I saw an AFA 80 example that was still factory sealed like this. That sold for around $800 or $900, but I couldn't tell you where I saw that. But anyway, this one sold for $160.50 plus $25 shipping. Next up was a UKG 75% Palatoy Tauntaun with the open belly. So what an awesome item. This was sold by the Muffin Man over in the UK. Beautiful example of the Palatoy. And this one was mint and sealed box, apparently. Let's see here. It looks like it's still factory sealed. So pretty awesome looking item there. To get the Palatoy example of the Tauntaun, not something that you see very often. You can see the factory tape there right next to the Palatoy logo. And that one sold for 415 pounds, which is $523 and change, plus another $60 shipping to the US. But that's a rare one. That's a really nice example of the Tauntaun. Very cool item. Next up was a 48 back C Revenge of the Jedi Imperial Hoth Stormtrooper, graded AFA 75 plus. Beautiful crystal clear blister, unpunched. Really nice example. And that one sold for $595 in an auction. 19 bids on that one. That one closed August 23rd. Again, I had some of these items in my watch list, and I've just been kind of meaning to get to them, and I've been traveling, but I wanted to show this one because that was a beautiful example. This one doesn't pop up very much, but I think that's really cool to see a Hoth Stormtrooper during the Battle of Hoth with Revenge of the Jedi on there. It's just everything about that is just a really cool kind of combination, and that sticker really pops next to the white of the Hoth Stormtrooper. 75, 85, 80 were the sub scores for an overall 75 plus. They graded that one pretty harsh, if you ask me. That one was really nice. I think it's because of the litho tear, as you can see next to the Empire Strikes Back logo. So that's probably what held it back a little bit. But $595, I think that's a pretty good buy. I think an AFA 80 example would probably set you back closer to $800 or $900 pretty easily. So I think that one was appropriately discounted for a 75 plus. This was another interesting one that was at auction up in Canada. This one was a Toy Tony Palatoy Clipper AFA 85 Bespin security guard. So it's got the multi-language Clipper sticker there on the front, and it does have a double stem blister, but apparently there were Toy Tonys that still had double stem blisters. Every time, I always thought that when you had a double stem blister on some of these rare General Mills card backs, it was probably legit. Well, that's not the case, so it shows you what I know. But that one was AFA 85, but again, this one was a Toy Tony assembled after the fact by a gentleman named Tony, using overstock card backs, overstock blisters, and then he just picked up, near mint figures and slapped them in there. But Usually it's like more of a Kenner style blister with the kind of stem at the bottom, just the single stem, but this one was a double stem Toy Tony example. Here's the back of the card so you can see the Clipper multi-language back there, but very, very cool to see that one nevertheless. It's always nice to have some of these foreign card backs, whether they're legit or Toy Tonys at all. I mean, 85, 90, 85. Again, the scores don't matter much, but it's still pretty cool to have one. I've only got a couple of Toy Tonys, but that's a really nice looking example. And I think the price was fair, 412 Canadian dollars, which is about 303 US dollars. I would have paid that all day long if I was in the market for one. Next up was a Size Snoodles band, mint and seal box, AFA 80. And there is the back. The flap had just a couple of very, very minor creases on each edge there, but usually that crease is flapped or is folded over, and it does have damage. But this was a really nice example of the US release for the Size Snoodles Max Rebo band. But wow, what an awesome example. AFA 80, and that one sold for $819. I think that's a very fair price, just given what these can go for. Sometimes even on Facebook, they can go for more than this number. So I thought that was a really fair price for that. Next up, another kind of mint and seal box item. This was the Collector Series Patrol dewback, graded UKG 80%. We've seen a few of these lately, and this one sold for 412 pounds, which is 520 US dollars. That's quite a bit less than an AFA 80 that just sold, I think, for around $800 or $900. So UKG 80% mint and seal box collector series. To me, I would have expected this one to go for a little bit more money. It looks like it maybe has a little bit of fading to the front of the box there. Maybe it's just me. It could be, just bad photos, but the photo doesn't look nearly as vibrant and kind of pop as much as some of the examples I've seen out there. But it was a graded UKG 80% mint and sealed box, and again, it sold for 520 US dollars plus shipping. Next up was an AFA 80 65 back B Lando skiff, and the 65 backs, they can appear with clear blisters. It seems like after the 65 backs is where you start to really see the yellowing, like the 77 backs. Those almost always yellow, but this 65 back was a really nice clear example. 80, 80, 85 were the sub scores on that one. Nice unpunched example, and $260 I think was a very fair price for that. I've got a 79 back Lando skiff. That's an AFA 80. That's also a clear blister, but this earlier card back, I think that was a really good deal. $260 plus $15 shipping. Next up was a Palatoy 65 back B AT-AT driver, and I thought this was another very fair price. Overall, AFA 80, 80, 80, 85. I don't think the 65 back was on the Toy Tony list. This one looks like a legit example. It's got the tri-logo blister, the oversized tri-logo blister. It's usually, I think, a 45 back that is the culprit for the Toy Tonys for the AT-AT driver. But I think this one's absolutely a legit example, given that it has the tri-logo blister. But I was looking at that one. That one sat on the market for a little bit, and I was very tempted a couple of times. I was like, nah, I don't really need that. But it did finally sell at $570 plus $20 shipping. I would have paid that all day long, to be honest with you. I just couldn't make it work for me right now. I thought that was a really nice example, though. What's interesting about this one is that the weapon is kind of wedged up inside at the top of the tri-logo blister. And I have a tri-logo AT-AT driver, the Palatoy tri-logo, where the exact same thing happened. I have a CAS 85 example for the tri-logo AT-AT driver, and the weapon did the exact same thing. So it's just kind of funny that the tri-logo blisters are the exact right width, so that weapon can get wedged up in there. So I just thought that was a kind of a funny side story. Maybe it's not to you, but maybe you guys don't care about that at all. But for me, I love that. And so that was kind of part of the reason I wanted to buy it, because I thought it would look kind of cool to have this one next to my tri-logo and both of the weapons having it kind of wedged up in there. But it was not meant to be shabby. Really cool example, though. $570 plus $20 shipping on that one. Next up was a 77 back A yellowed blister Darth Vader. It was a punched example, but it was an AFA 85. 85, 85, 90. That one sold in an auction for $455. I mean, I've seen some recently, yellow blister, Return of the Jedi US release Darth Vaders, and similar condition but maybe ungraded, that have sold for this price or more over the last few months. So I thought this was a really good buy if you could live with a yellow blister. It was pretty moderately yellowed, but again, you're pretty much 77 backs and later, they're almost all going to be yellow blister. So it's just the way it is on that. But I think that was a very fair price, though, for an AFA 85 punched example for Darth Vader. Next up, I want to talk more about this one. Now, it was advertised as a clear blister Return of the Jedi 77 back Forlom. But if you look at it really closely, I didn't bid. I was thinking about bidding on it, but then if you look at it, look around that blister there. It's got all kinds of, it looks like the blister has fallen off of the card. Maybe it's just pulled off slightly, but it almost makes me think that this item was reattached. And I'm not trying to accuse the seller of anything, so, but it does look a little suspicious. If you look all around the edge of that blister right in here, it just looks like the blister was maybe reattached. It could just be pulling away. It could just be pulling away, but it's just so weird that it's so uniform all the way down that blister. So, and there were only 2 photos, the front and the back. There weren't any close-ups showing the waffle pattern, so it was enough to scare me off anyway. If you happen to be the one that bought that, I would love to know if it came and it was legit versus, you know, a reattached, resealed blister. But that one did sell for $212. Next up, I got a couple of mini rigs that sold. The first was the Return of the Jedi packaging for the vehicle maintenance energizer, graded AFA 85. So very high grade, mint and seal box, $276 on that one. And then this one is the INT4 Interceptor AFA 85 with the clear view label up top, but a very nice example, INT4. On the Return of the Jedi packaging, and that one was the Palatoy Clipper example. That one sold up in Canada for 375 Canadian dollars, which is 275 US dollars. So they both sold for about the same price, 275-ish for AFA 85 examples. If you guys are into mini rigs and like to have high grade examples, both of those were very affordable items in my opinion. Now it's time to talk about some Power of the Force mint on cards. First is a Darth Vader ungraded, lots of wear to the card back, but even still, this one still sold for $315. This is probably at best like a 70 grade. Very heavy creasing, heavy yellowing on that one. Next up was his army builder, and that is the Stormtrooper. This one was an AFA 60, so not high grade either. It was unpunched, but not a very high grade example. 75, 60, 85 were the subscores. So for a 60 subscore, it probably means it's got a crack on the blister, or some kind of damage to the blister on that one, even though it looks pretty good here. That's what makes me worried about getting something like this in the mail, is because if it's already got a crack now, it could easily crack even further and get damaged in shipping. But that one still sold for $535. So even low grade for the Power of the Force Stormtrooper, people pay big money. It's kind of a tough one to find. It's not like rare, but it's definitely kind of a moderately rare one to find in good shape. Next up, we got an EV99 in pretty rough shape, but that one still sold for $390. This is probably at best like a 70, maybe a 75 if you're feeling generous, but I think given the card damage here in the lower right-hand corner on the front of the card, probably at best about a 70 grade. So $390 on that one. Next up was a clear blister C-3PO removable limbs. I cannot talk. This one was an unpunched example, but look how crystal clear that was. I'm assuming it's a legit example. This is a seller that sells pretty regularly on eBay. So if that's a legit example, that is a beautiful blister on that one. That one sold for $382 plus shipping. And then I've got several different Luke Skywalker in his battle poncho that sold. First is a pretty rough one that had quite a bit of damage to the card. That one sold for $262, which is about the going rate for a loose complete example outside of the packaging. So that's about what you pay for that. Next up was an AFA 75 yellowed blister punched example. That one sold by Brian's Toys for $485 in an auction on 42 bids. And then finally was an AFA 80 example. Very lightly yellowed on this one, unpunched, beautiful example though. The card grade was an 80, blister 85, figure 85. So 285 subscores on that, unpunched, and only very lightly yellowed on the blister. So that's a gorgeous example, and the price reflected that, of course. This sold over in the UK for 500 pounds, which equates to about 630 US dollars. So beautiful example there. Anyway, that's all I really had for this video. I hope you like this kind of kaleidoscope of different items that sold. Thanks again, and I'll be back soon.